ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. Reading from Harinam Cintamani. Besides separation based on philosophical principles, there is another type of separation in chanting. This is syllabic separation of Krishna's names. For instance, if the syllables ha and ri are separated from each other by some other syllables, by this syllabic separation, the effects of the holy name are greatly hindered. This is different from the utterance of the word haram by the yuvana unintentionally when he is dying, for there is no separation of the syllables in the utterance. It is therefore classified as namabhas. Ha and ri separated syllabically have much less effect. Of the two types of separation, the philosophical separation of the Mayavadis is much more detrimental to spiritual progress. The belief that the name is not all powerful and absolute is a great disturbance in Kali Yuga and is not in accordance with the scripture. By these considerations, one can understand the real nature of the holy name. It is the chanting and hearing of a principal name of Krishna, devoid of namabhas, aparad, or vyavadhana, separation. That is the pure name, Shuddhanam. Whoever accepts and chants that pure name is known as a real Vaishnava and may belong to the three categories mentioned earlier. In happiness, one should serve such a Vaishnava always. In order to overcome namabhas and get the pure name, the jiva must serve the bona fide guru with great attention. By doing this, the anarthas will disappear, and the pure name endowed with all spiritual potency will dance on the devotee's tongue. At that time, he will never give up the stream of sweet nectar emanating from the holy name. The jiva will chant constantly, mad with the sweetness of the name. In joy, the name will dance, the jiva will dance, and the treasure of love of God will dance. The whole universe will dance, and Maya will flee. The different types of holy names have been discussed. Now consider who has the right or adhikar for the holy name. Anyone who is a human being, regardless of material considerations such as class, varna, birth, sex, age, or education, has the right to take up the holy name, for the Lord has invested in the name a transcendental power that surpasses all distinctions. But although everyone has the right to the name, only those who have developed faith in Krishna and his name will actually take shelter of the name and seriously chant it. Thus, any human being has the right to the name, and one who has faith becomes the practitioner of the name. In other spiritual practices, there are restrictions in performance according to time, place, cleanliness, or uncleanliness. But in taking up the name, this is not so. So far, the name overcomes all these restrictions by its invested power. Whereas in acts of charity, sacrifice, bathing, japa, etc., there is always consideration of time, place, and cleanliness. In the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, faith alone is the only necessity. And whoever takes shelter of the holy name in Kali Yuga achieves the highest perfection in life. The conclusion is that the living entity in Kali Yuga, being situated in the midst of Maya, must take up the name. One who accepts the name and practices it, though doing this with minimal restrictions, must still be careful to perform all actions favorable to increasing devotion to Krishna, reject all actions which hamper devotion to Krishna, and simply remember the name of Krishna constantly while passing out his life in the material world. Never should he deviate on the path of fruitive activities or worship of demigods. Instead, he should chant the name, serve the devotees, and achieve the goal of life, Krishna Prema. Thus concluding his explanation of how the jiva should accept the name, Haridas Thakur began weeping, falling at the Lord's lotus feet. He then he held them and begged for attraction to the holy name. For one who performs devotion service at the feet of the Uttama Vaishnava, Haridas Thakur, the transcendental touchstone of the holy name, will become the center of his life. Chapter 3, Namabhas. Gadai Gauranga Jaya, Janava Jivana, Sita Dvaita Jaya, Srivasadi Bhakta Jana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mercifully lifted Haridas up with his own hands and said, "Listen, Haridas, to my words. Now explain in detail the meaning of Namabhas. If one thoroughly understands Namabhas, one's chanting of the holy name will become pure. Then by the power of that pure chanting, he will end his material existence. The holy name, like the sun, dispels the darkness of illusion. However, sometimes clouds or mist cover the sun from the viewer so that only a portion of light comes through. In the same way, when ignorance and anarthas predominate, the sun of the holy name becomes covered and only a portion of the full effect of the name is felt. Therefore, in some cases, the holy name will appear in full force in the heart of the chanter, but in other cases, clouds of ignorance and anarthas will minimize the effect of the name of the chanter of the name on the chanter. What is ignorance? Ignorance is of three types. If one does not know the true spiritual nature of the holy name, which one has accepted, this ignorance of the name, like mist, leads one to darkness. Secondly, a person ignorant that Krishna is the Supreme Lord will take to worship of the demigods and path of material piety. Thirdly, one who is ignorant of the transcendental nature of his own self as an infinitesimal part of Krishna and his world takes shelter of the world of impermanence and illusion. Thus, he will eternally remain in ignorance. So we'll stop here. There's a lot, and actually I missed the last 2 days, but looks like the discussion was on, like Haridas Thakur is speaking to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and explaining about the holy name and really the potency of the holy name. That is what is given. Like earlier it was saying, right? The verse we know, Nam Namakari Bahudani Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Smaranena Kala. So that's the thing they're saying earlier. Haridas Thakur is saying that in your holy name, all the potencies are there. There's so much of that. And there is also no hard and fast rule for chanting the holy name. Anybody, any race, any caste, any sex, as long as we are a human being, we have the right to chant the holy name. But the important factor, what was mentioned was that, but one should have the faith in the holy name. And that is what then the true chanting begins, right? When somebody has a faith. And then also it was saying that along with the chanting of the holy name, something that we have to be very careful about is that we are doing everything that is favorable to Krishna and avoiding all the activities that are not favorable. So that is very important, right? And then serving the Guru is the most important point that was brought forward, that when we develop the faith, it is important also that we serve the Vaishnavas, have the right mindset, and do all of that. And naturally, the holy name is going to clear, like we go from the Namabhas to the Shuddha Nam stage. So it's not just the physical practice of chanting, but it is also important that we have the right mood, the right mindset, have the faith in Krishna, have favorable mood towards Krishna and also his devotees, right? So that's the important piece. And then later on, it was just talking about. So then I think the question is then what is Namabhas? And then that's where the next chapter is dwelling, going more into the Namabhas. It is like sun is there. That's the holy name. Holy name is there, shining all that bright light on everybody. But if there is clouds that are covering the sun, the full potency doesn't come. So that's exactly what is Namabhas. And then the explanation was given about the three types where somebody doesn't have the full faith in Krishna and the faith in the holy name. And also the Mayavadi is like the extreme one where we think that we are the same as Krishna, right? So that's the really like the extreme one. And then also the explanation was given when when we don't understand the sambandha, that we are the infinitesimal part of Krishna himself, right? We don't understand the sambandha and we just think that the holy name is material, that will cause namabhas. So with that, we can continue with chanting. Again, I'm really very thankful for this